Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden, what if, whatever you want to call me. And I'm back, and obviously this is not my channel. I'm actually doing a collab with Xplic. So obviously you're seeing this currently on his channel, but part 2 will be on my channel, Golden What Ifs. But that's all I really gotta say. I don't need to really stretch out no intro for this video. So we're gonna get into part 1 of what if Deku had a time control quirk, and I want all y'all to stick around for all of these videos. It's gonna be my part is going to be on his channel, so I'm sending him this part. He's gonna send me one part, and then the rest of the series is going to be on this channel that I'm speaking on right now. So if you're not subbed already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's blow this video up. Let's blow this series up. And yeah, that's about it. And let's just get right into the video. Let's get it. In a world where quirks were prevalent in society, where without a quirk, well, you were deemed practically useless, there was a boy by the name of Izuku Midoriya. But what he didn't know when he was, well, growing up, that he would have one of the strongest quirks known to mankind. His quirk would change reality itself. But is that really a good thing? One day, Izuku Midoriya asked his mother Inko Midoriya if they could please go check what his quirk was. So they did. She took her adorable son Izuku to the doctors, and they met the doctor, and he basically greeted them into the hospital.
Okay, let's see. Little one, you mind coming with me so I can check your quirk?
Yeah, I want to be a strong hero one day. Izuku, excited, walks with the doctor to get his quirk checked. And the doctor does so, running a couple tests and doing all this stuff like normal. And then comes out and begins speaking with his mother.
Well, Inko Midoriya, it seems that your son has a very, very powerful quirk. It's called time control. He can manipulate, well, time itself. But he needs to be careful, because it doesn't necessarily have drawbacks, but there's a lot he can do with it, good and bad. So I want you to make sure he goes down the route of a true hero. Inko Midoriya, or Izuku's mother, promises that she will make sure to do so. So the doctor tells them that he wishes them the best of luck on his future endeavors, and they head out of the hospital. Izuku is super excited and tells his mom if they could please go out and have dinner, and of course she says yes in celebration of her son's powerful quirk. The next day, a 4-year-old Izuku heads to basically more or less like daycare or like a preschool, and talks with his best friend Bakugo, but what he calls him Kachan. Hey Kachan, I got my quirk. Oh really? That's awesome, Izuku. What is it? Izuku explains that his quirk is called time control, and that he can basically just like mess with time, like those cool like cartoons and stuff. And Bakugo actually thinks this is pretty awesome, and shows Izuku his quirk, showing that he basically has an explosion quirk, and that they're gonna both be amazing heroes. Izuku agrees, and honestly, for the next like bunch of years, everything goes relatively normal in terms of just someone's normal life. Compared to canon though, Izuku actually has a childhood where he doesn't get bullied. He doesn't get hurt, he doesn't get made fun of. He's actually praised. I mean, throughout this whole time skip, we're talking 10 to 11 years, Izuku is a star student. He aces every test. He does everything perfect. The teachers and everyone around him like just know that Izuku is going to be a great hero. It's like the kid can't make a mistake even if he tried. Until the very last day of middle school finally arrived. And the teacher greeted the whole class in and began to explain what they were going to do. The teacher basically tells the entire class that normally he would basically hand out career aptitude tests to see what would best fit them for a career. Maybe a fireman, maybe a librarian, maybe, I don't know, anything. But the teacher then looks them all in the eyes and basically tells them that he knows that all of them want to go the hero route. He throws the papers in the sky and the class begins to cheer and use their quirks. I mean, besides Bakugo and Midoriya, which they're relatively calm in terms of this, well, until Bakugo stands on his desk screaming that basically he'll be the greatest hero alive and that he'll become the #1 hero and he'll be the richest to ever basically do it. And a lot of the class begins to say that Bakugo definitely has the potential to do that, but Izuku probably has a better chance as well. Which Bakugo scoffs at, knowing that Izuku does have a lot of potential, but doesn't like the idea that people are basically putting down his aspirations for Izuku's. The teacher then basically says that Bakugo has the test scores to basically prove it, and actually 2 of them are trying to get into UA. And the class basically isn't surprised, saying that they know that it's both Izuku and Bakugo because they're basically at the top of the school and have been throughout all these years. And the teacher agrees and says that frankly it's not even close, that Izuku and Bakugo have been acing everything, and especially Izuku. He's never got one wrong answer on any test he's ever taken. And obviously Izuku kind of just sits there calmly and just listens to the praise, but he doesn't really let it even sink in. He knows what he wants to do and has his own vision. So he enjoys being praised, because who wouldn't, but he doesn't really take it to heart because he knows that there's a long road ahead. So at the end of the last day of middle school, they all head out, and Bakugo actually asks Midoriya if maybe he wants to train over these next 10 months or so before the entrance exam. And Izuku is completely down for it, but says that he has to actually work on some stuff, so he's gonna basically head home, but he's gonna go the long way. So Bakugo and him part ways, and Izuku heads under a bridge as while he's writing in his notebook about everything about his quirk and about everyone else's quirk that he's analyzed over all these years. Until out of nowhere, some giant, big green monster comes crashing out of the sewer. "Kid, I didn't know he was here. I need your body." Izuku looks back confused, but just smirks and looks at the sludge villain dead in his face. "You want my body? It's kind of weird. You know that, right?" The sludge villain charges in at him, but Izuku appears behind him as if he was never in front of him in the first place. Izuku immediately grabs something out of his bag, throwing it at the sludge villain's eye sockets and basically blinding the sludge villain, stalling him out all the way until All Might arrives.
"No need to fear, because I am here."
It felt as if Izuku knew this would happen. He didn't even attempt to run away, he actually just kept fighting, until he felt that reinforcements were coming. So All Might joins the fight and just Detroit smashes the villain into like a bazillion pieces.
Are you okay, young man?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Thank you, All Might. Zuko didn't even seem starstruck by this. All Might seemed to be kind of confused as well, because normally people begin to freak out, especially about being attacked by a villain, and especially about him. Most people, when they see All Might, they actually fanboy out or begin panicking, saying, "Oh my god, it's All Might, oh my god," and "Oh, can I get an autograph?" But Izuku is so calm, so relaxed. He wasn't even scared that this villain attacked him out of nowhere while running away from All Might, and he wasn't even scared or happy that necessarily All Might was there to save him. So, but at the end of the day, Izuku still asked for an autograph, and All Might asked what the kid's quirk is. "Oh, my quirk is time control. I can basically manipulate time." Pretty self-explanatory. All Might looks at him and is shocked.
Wow, that's very impressive. I'm sure if you train really hard, that you can get a insanely good control on your quirk.
"Oh, yeah, thanks, All Might." All Might leaves, and Izuku kind of tilts his head because he feels that he already has an insane control on his quirk. What he hasn't even shown yet is far beyond comprehension that the sludge villain would have known. He could have and should have maybe even defeated the sludge villain on his own, but he decided not to, because there's some other little tidbits to his quirk that are even stronger than what he just showed. So then we enter the 10 months of training before UA. Izuku's been training frankly all his life in this. He's been working out and doing other stuff like that, kind of like if you were a student athlete, for say. So he would train his quirk when he had the chance, but he actually never felt he had to. He had really good control, no pun intended, really good control over his time control quirk. It felt like there was no real restriction with it. He could do a lot of things that most people wouldn't even fathom. And especially, he felt like there was no limit to his quirk. He actually trained with Bakugo before, and Bakugo would speak about his limits in terms of his explosion quirk, and that if it's too cold, it's harder for him to produce sweat, and there's other things like if he uses his explosions too much, his arms begin to hurt and his hands begin to hurt, and it's like breaking himself apart in a way. But Izuku felt that there was no limit, at least to his quirk. So during this 10 months, he actually just started training special moves and special techniques that he felt he could use and test it out. I'm not going to say any of those currently at the moment, but you'll see very soon. So the 10 months was quickly over. Throughout that 10 months training, Izuku felt very confident, even more than in the beginning, that he would pass this exam. So he goes in. The entrance exam is finally upon us. As he walks by, he sees a girl and immediately just kind of appears in front of her, blocking her pathway and then kicking something out of the way. He smiles and then runs off, and the girl is confused, thinking that did he think that she would trip on that thing, or what was that even about? He runs in, and the entrance exam basically begins. President Mike is there and begins explaining that they'll basically have a practical and a written. And first off, the written will be, well, right now. He basically then sends off everybody into different rooms, and everyone begins taking the written portion of the exam. Izuku actually aces this exam. Completely just destroys it. It's not even a hard thing for him. Actually, he didn't even study. Izuku in this is seemingly very smart. He didn't really even try, and when he was bubbling in the paper, it seemed like he knew the answers already. He was done in like 10 minutes and walked over and gave President Mike the paper. Do you need anything, little listener? Oh, no, I'm actually finished already. Oh, are you sure? You know, you still have about an hour and a half left. Oh, yeah, I know, but I'm already done. And also, there's some grammar mistakes in there if you want to fix them. Izuku then walks away, and President Mike is stunned. He is actually really floored by this, that this kid just finished so quickly. And he flips through the pages and sees that he literally got everything right. He hasn't seen this in years. Nobody has. This isn't something that is a common occurrence among hero students especially. Yes, there are some really smart hero students, but even this entrance exam test is built to be extremely difficult. There's things on it that you're not even supposed to learn until you're in UA. So they're kind of gimme questions where UA knows you'll get it wrong, but they still put them in there to challenge you. President Mike stares at Izuku for a second and messages Nezu about the occurrence. After all is said and done, and everyone is finished with the, written portion of the exam, they all head back to the auditorium, and President Mike stands waiting and begins explaining the entirety of the practical. Okay, little listeners, first off, you all will be split up into, I believe, 4 groups, and you'll be waiting at a gate, and you will get points based on destroying 1, 2, 3 point robots. Also, before President Mike could actually continue, a blue-haired boy stands up. He begins complaining, saying that President Mike is skipping out on a robot and that this isn't very professional of him by any means necessary, and that he isn't fit to be a UA teacher if, as this young boy is saying this, Izuku basically teleports next to him and asks for him to please sit down, and that President Mike was just going to explain that last robot that he spoke of. Izuku, in the eyes of everyone else, Izuku basically just teleports back to his seat, and the boy by the name of Ida stands there stunned. This boy, he's so fast and seems so kind on the outside, but so intimidating at the same time. There's like this aura to him that is undescribable. He just sits back down, and he doesn't question the occurrence, and he apologizes for his intrusion. President Mike says it's fine and begins to explain the zero pointer, saying that this is a robot they don't want to mess with. Plus, it doesn't even give you points, so there's really no reason to fight it. So, Izuku and everyone else is sent out to their designated gates, and he waits. But as the gate swings open and President Mike begins to quote-unquote tell everybody to get ready as if he was going to count down, Izuku is gone. He's gone. He's not running. He actually, to the eyes of everyone else, teleported right to the first robot. And this is where one of his first powers is actually revealed in terms of what he's been training. He touches a robot and completely and utterly just obliterates it. But he doesn't have some strength quirk. He's not super strong like he's been doing, like he's some epic weightlifter. No, he touched something and forced it to revert back to its old self. So basically, changing a bunch of schematic and circuits and everything that was put into the robot back to its original scrap metal, instantly destroying it. And he began seemingly teleporting around doing this, just tapping things, destroying it, and he does this extremely efficiently. We're talking, he has perfect patterns to where each robot is. And in the teacher's booth, they even talk about this. This kid, who is he, Nezu? That's Izuku Midoriya. His quirk is, time control.
I see. Does he somehow know the routes of the robots?
What do you mean, Aizawa?
The kid, he's moving perfectly for it. Where every robot is, he knows. Does he know the pathing of the robots?
No. That is top secret, Aizawa. Even the teachers don't know that. He must just have, well, really good fighting sense, Aizawa.
Interesting. The kid must have trained a lot then.
Back to Izuku. He just continues to follow a pattern and destroying robots until he's at a point where he has 130 robot points where he knows that he'll be fine. So he sits on a building and stares at something intensely, just stares at it for actually a couple minutes. Then the ground begins to shake and he stands up. He jumps off the building, basically teleporting, and runs over to this where he sees a girl that just got stuck under rubble. He runs over, disintegrating the rubble, reverting it back in time, and grabs her and carries her away. She's actually confused, thinking that she probably could have got out of the rubble herself. I mean, eventually, until she looks up to see a giant robot towering over them, and he quickly gets them out of there. Izuku puts her down in a safe area, and the test is then deemed over as they all escaped from the robot. President Mike then explains over the intercom that they will be getting letters soon to see if they got in or not. The girl tries to ask him what his name is and how and why he saved her, and that he's risking his own entry. He kinda ignores what she says and just says that his name is Izuku Midoriya and to not worry. He gives her a smile and just leaves. And that's really it for the entrance exam. He heads home and Inko asks him basically how he did, and Midoriya says he thinks he did pretty good. Some weeks pass, and finally the letter arrives, and his mom runs into his room super excited, but Izuku doesn't look as excited as her because he feels he knows that, well, he got in. He opens the letter, and it's a hologram.
I am here talking to you through this hologram. Izuku Midoriya, you are very impressive. You got a perfect score on the written exam and a whopping 200 points on the practical exam. Congratulations, you are in UA, but not only that, you're the #1 student out of the entrance exam.
Izuku is excited, visibly, and smiles that all his hard work basically just paid off. And after some more time passed, it was finally the beginning of his hero journey. He heads to UA, and when he enters the classroom that has a giant door on it, he sees his childhood friend Bakugo arguing with that same blue-haired boy. This time, Izuku doesn't even say anything. He just kind of chuckles at it, and Bakugo scoffs at him, saying to not make fun of him. After some time, Aizawa, their teacher, introduces himself.
I am Shota Aizawa, and I will be your teacher for the next 3 years. And I want all of you to meet me outside. We're gonna, do a little assessment.
Some girl by the name of Ochako Uraraka, actually the one that Izuku, saved, asked what about, orientation. Aizawa responds that he doesn't care about silly things like that, and if they want orientation, to go join a normal school. They all agree and basically head out at the request of Aizawa. When they arrive, Aizawa begins explaining what they are going to do. It's very similar to what they have done in middle school, where they have physical assessments. But this time, you're allowed to use your quirk. Aizawa throws a ball at Izuku, and Izuku catches it and begins walking up and stands in the circle. Aizawa smirks, thinking that this boy already knew what to do and that he has potential. So I just throw it as far as possible, correct? Yeah, you got it, kid. Go ahead. Izuku cocks back his arm and launches the ball. When he touched the ball, he actually enacted a weird sort of fast forward to it, and it went sailing, and it went really, really far. Aizawa checks his meter and finds that it went 1,000 meters. Interesting. Good job, kid. Go back in line. Everyone in class 1A begins to celebrate, saying that, oh, this is going to be so much fun, and it's like a game. Aizawa is visibly pissed by this, and Izuku kind of chuckles, knowing what is probably going to come. Okay, you think it's fun? How about this? Whoever gets last place gets expelled. That's simple. And everyone is scared. Everyone's terrified. I mean, except for the people at the top of the class type of stuff. Like, Izuku isn't going to be scared by any means. Todoroki, Bakugo, they have nothing to worry about because they know there's no chance of them getting last. And that's exactly what happens. None of them end up getting last. Well, because they're pretty strong at this point nonetheless. But one by the name of Hagakure, Invisible Girl, does get last. But Aizawa then informs them of something they will, well, be happy about. I was kidding. Nobody's getting expelled. It's too much paperwork anyways. Also, it was really just a big hoax to make you try your hardest. Izuku laughs again, and the class asks what he's laughing about. Oh, I mean, I've done my research about Mr. Aizawa, and he had full intention of expelling someone. Aizawa kinda laughs about this and says that yeah, he's right, but maybe he had a change of heart. And Aizawa tells them all that they're done. So basically, they're allowed to head out for the day, to finish up the rest of their normal classes, and then head home. The next day, they finally arrived, and it was finally time for real training. And Aizawa began explaining that it actually won't be with him. There's another teacher that's going to be training you guys. He should be here about now. I am here, walking through the door like a normal person. All Might comes busting in through the door, and everyone flinches back at the sight of All Might, but then gets excited, screaming that, oh my god, it's All Might, and we can't wait to train with him. All Might tells them all to get on their hero costumes, so they do. Izuku actually has a pretty sleek hero costume, but it's more leaning toward his normal one, just without basically the All Might little ears or hair imitation, and it's more sleek. And I would say, like, instead of that black, it's white and a dark green. So that's kind of the color scheme he runs by, but he decides that he wants to keep it simple because, well, his quirk doesn't really need anything too flashy in terms of a hero costume by any means. They all get on their hero costumes and head out to Ground Gamma, where All Might is waiting for them, and he begins explaining what type of training they will be doing. He says that he wants to basically just analyze their quirks first, so he will have them be doing 1 versus 1 training. Okay, and the first fight will be, let's do Izuku Midoriya versus Shoto Todoroki. They both walk up and head into the city. Todoroki looks at Izuku in practically disgust, and Izuku just smiles at him and shakes his head. Todoroki asks what he's smiling about and to not take him lightly because Izuku is just some joke. Yeah, you think what you want. They both stand across from each other, ready to fight, and All Might begins counting them down. The fight begins in 3, 2, 1, go! They both charge at each other, and Todoroki follows it up with basically this giant ice attack, but Izuku easily dodges it and then throws a right cross at him, basically knocking him flat on his butt. Izuku tells him to yield, but Todoroki says it won't be that easy. He sticks out his hand, but immediately Izuku grabs it before he can even use his ice and slams him on the ground. Everyone begins to notice. Izuku feels like he is just 10 steps ahead of Todoroki all the time. Every move Todoroki would do, Izuku was in the perfect position to counter it. And this continued throughout the entire fight, eventually leading to Izuku punching Todoroki in the chest and then kicking him on the back of his head and knocking him out cold.
Izuku Midoriya is the winner.
Izuku walks back with Todoroki on his shoulders, and the class stares in complete awe that this kid is on a whole different level compared to everyone else. That is a wrap for part 1 of What If Deku Had a Time Control Quirk. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, sub, comment down below, all that good stuff. Blow this video up for my boy Xplic. He has so much potential in the What If game, and I know he's going to make some bangers, and I know this is going to be a banger, so make sure to blow the video up. And if you want to see the next part, come over to my Golden What Ifs channel, and you'll be able to see part 2, and then the rest of the parts will all be on his channel, and he will be making them personally. And I promise that this whole series will be fire. Okay, enough of all that. I hope all y'all enjoy and have an amazing day. Later.